In this video, we're lining up and counting down the 40 most run locomotives on the layout.
Hello and welcome to this Top 40 Locomotive Chart 2023, where we're lining up and counting down the most run locomotives on the layout this year. But before getting started on that, I would like to send a big thank you to the patrons and you donors who's supporting the channel and making all this possible. Without you, no channel. And for next year, I have 27 new videos in plan, so stick with us and hopefully next year we'll be here again for another Locomotive Top 40. But hey, let's now get started, line up and count down the top 40 locomotives.
And here's an overview of the layout where I'm running my locomotives. And this one consists from an excess of 1000 track pieces. Mainly Marklin M-track, but also mixed with flex tracks of Series K. It is a total of 93 meters, and from one side to the next it takes about 5 minutes. And we're starting this top list from the bottom at place 40, running 14 minutes only this year. The MA880 from Gekko. It runs really nicely and has an excellent sound map. But the changed way I operate my layout has made it slip from the 11th position last year. This locomotive does not run all that well at all. It's an old Marklin 3170 type Swedish D109 at current place 39. This locomotive I was hoping a lot for this year, but it has only run 21 minutes, ending up at place 38. It's the classic green E40. This is also classic. It's the BR012 steamer. Runs really well, even though it has the old drive from Marklin. On the 36th place, we have a rail bus X02 for Swedish State Railways. This one didn't run well at all when I got it. It's an old Trix model. At spot 35, we find this T44. It's a diesel engine which pulls my freight cargoes in the operations, but only every second day, so it's not all that many minutes either. On place 34, we have this Mack. This is a maintenance train. I run that the first year a lot, but this year only run 1 hour and 70 minutes. On 33rd place, the DA940 from Morocco, pulling long-distance passenger service. In place 32, we find this RA989, which has a similar type of duty on the layout, namely to pull long-distance passenger trains. In the 31st place, we find this switcher, which has run 1 hour and 37 minutes sorting cars up at the main yard, up from only 23 minutes last year. So that concludes the list for the 10 least run locomotives for this year. There are 6 different industries on the layout, which drives the freight train scenario. In addition to that, I also run both local, regional and long-distance passenger service. The traffic is arranged on a schedule. The V160 didn't run anything during last year. Due to decoder problems, the decoder burned. I replaced it with a new one, but I again have problem with this locomotive, so now it's standing again. In the 29th place, we have a newcomer to the layout. This is the RC5, which was released from Marklin this year. Fantastic drive and sound map. On 28th place, we find the iron ore train, the DM3, with now an extended set of iron ore cars. I 3D printed 8 extra cars using Model Railroad 3D drawings. In spot 27, the BR50 with the cabin tender, an old Marklin model from a starter set. Marklin model 37835. And in 26th place, the Swedish diesel engine T44 operated by Green Cargo, running 2 hours and 7 minutes this year. Here pulling a set of stake cars from Model Railroad 3D. On 25th place, down from 6th last year, is the Rocco BR103 195-4. This is my top favorite loco on the layout. In place 24, still going strong, the BR50 2362, which followed with a starter set I purchased back in 2008. In spot 33, we find last year's winner, the BR218 220-5, down from last year's 29 hours of operation to only 2 hours and 43 minutes. In spot 22, we found last year's number 2, the BR44 1374, running 2 hours and 45 minutes, mainly pulling this set of 3D printed iron ore cars in German style. I 3D printed the set of 14 cars back in March, and they run just beautifully with this locomotive. In 21st place, we find the good old BR43, running 3 hours and 6 minutes, mainly pulling prototypes of 3D printed cars during development. And then we've completed half of the list. The layout has 2 shadow stations, or staging yards, one to the left and one to the right. The capacity for the north yard, the one to the left, is 10 trains, while the southern yard has the capacity to hold 8 trains simultaneously. And with BR193, Tåget, we're entering the top half of the chart show. In the 20th spot, running 3 hours and 6 minutes, this Marklin Loco. Switchers has historically been in the lower part of the chart, but not this year. UB709 in 19th place, up from 35 last year. On 18th place, pulling the local passenger train, is the BR24 047 from Marklin, running 3 hours and 56 minutes. On place 17, we find a newcomer to the layout, a BR120. I acquired this locomotive this summer to pull this set of 3D printed Ianus cars, which I painted in rail cargo paint scheme. In total, I printed 10 of these from Model Railroad 3D. In the 16th position, we find another of these UB709 locomotives. This electric switcher is stationed on the Himmelsboda. The red BR140 has really climbed the chart this year, up to 15th place from 42 last year. It has mainly been pulling this 3D printed set of EOS cars this year. This V100 is the king of the harbor, in its old DB red color scheme. Running 5 hours and 1 minute, this is one of my favorites too. The RC2 1056 holds the 13th place, pulling 80s style Swedish railway coaches. This locomotive is originally analog, but I've converted it to digital drive. The BR64 is dropping in the chart this year due to power pickup problems, but when working, pulling local passenger trains. The Danish MY1132 is climbing from 17th place up to 11th this year, mainly because it's pulling this unit train of stake cars type O. These stake cars has also been 3D printed using 3D models from Model Railroad 3D, and it's servicing the lumber loading station. The layout with its 57 locomotives, signals and turnouts is powered by a Marklin Central Station 2. The traffic is controlled and monitored by the Rockrail software, running on a PC. In addition, I use 2 web cameras, one in each shadow station, to monitor in and outgoing train traffic. But now we're entering the top 10, and on 10th place is this BR103. This is the old Marklin type with the old drive. And to this I have this set of 80s style rain gold coaches. And for the first year ever, I have a T44 diesel locomotive in the top 10. This engine, like the others, have this Sinus C motor and runs just beautifully. Another locomotive which runs just beautifully is the BR65. I really like this one. This is for sure also one of my favorites right now. 7th place is held by the Rocco model of the BR110 in blue paint scheme. I bought this secondhand on eBay for $50 and converted it, and now it's one of my favorites. Another favorite is the S-Bahn, running 8 hours and 57 minutes after I crossed out the relay, which switch out one or either of the sliders. This was a problem. I got a comment from my last video, and after that it runs like a charm. Fifth place is held by the HJ670 from Jekko. This is a really nice locomotive too. Pulls regional trains on my layout. The fourth spot is held by the RC3 1058, which I've currently just sold, replacing it with a newly released loco from Marklin. In third position we find a DHG 500. This was a Christmas gift to me back in 1977 from my mother. It has now a new motor and an MSD3 decoder. And in second place, one of my biggest favorites on the layout, the BR140 in beige and ocean blue color scheme. The locomotive is manufactured by Pico and the passenger coaches by Marklin. And with 12 hours and 36 minutes, capturing second place in the chart. And that, ladies and gentlemen, brings us up to number 1 2023. Running 36 hours and 8 minutes, up from 21st place last year to the top this year, V200 139. The Marklin model 3682 converted to digital drive with a 5-pole high-efficiency motor and an MSD3 decoder. This locomotive has been pulling all of the local freights this year, that's why the significant time in operations. Like I said last year, this locomotive should really have been replaced by a new V200. We'll see if that happens during next year. Out from the list this year was BR81, E2940, RC3 1058-2, DA936, the Crocodile, RC2 1056 and X2000 from Jekko, sold off on eBay.
Alright, so there you have it, the top 40 most run locomotives on this layout for this year. And as you noticed, a lot of the cars running with the trains are 3D printed nowadays. And I must say that, of course, there's a cost saving to 3D print at home. One car is typically between 40 to 70% cost saving printing it, comparing to buying it in the shop. But I would say that the biggest driver for me to print is the joy and satisfaction of having built the rolling stock on your own, and building it to your to your liking. And also now there's a decal coming out. The decal manufacturer have woken up and started to extend their offering. So it's I think it works really well. I'm putting up a link to Model Railroad 3D catalog, where you do not just find the rolling stock, but also every piece of detail you need for to build a model railroad, like catenary, semaphore signals, houses, structures, platform edges, you name it. Everything's there. It's in excess of 1,200 details, which you print out on your resin printer in plastic. So that's said about that. And if you're not yet a subscriber to the channel, don't forget to subscribe, enable that little bell, and you will get a notification once next video gets published. And until that happens, see ya.